Well, well, well. Let me get comfortable, and we will begin. Good morning, everybody. My name is Louis Vuitton, and thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time hanging out, well then, hey, we welcome you to the channel. Give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. Oh, who's that? Oh, go away. So, as I stated, my name is Louis Vuitton. Hi, I'm an Australian streamer. Progressive lefty streamer. I like to talk about things such as, oh, good morning. Oh shit, I better send a better reply before I get too far into the stream, because I was going to send a text message, but anyway. So, I'm an Australian streamer who likes to talk about some American-centric stuff as well. I'm actually starting stream way later than I normally would be. Let me get the stream up on my phone. Almost 3 hours later than what I would like to be starting it. This is like way later in the day than what I would normally like to start. But anyway, sorry for being lazy. But hey, what can you do? All right, I'm here now. I'll try to be a bit more motivated from now on. I am busy tonight, so I was like, okay, you have to stream this morning, Lewis, because I didn't stream yesterday at all, so I'm not going to stream tonight, so I had to do it this morning. So, also, Fragilities, thank you for the follow, welcome. So, let's see. Let me open the stream first by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm coming to you live from, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and welcome any Indigenous people joining us today. Let me just reply to this text super quick. How nice. Yeah. So yeah, got a lot to talk about. I just didn't really have it. Well, I didn't really have anything to talk about so much. I'm just like, let's just do a React stream and pull a bunch of React content. So, give me 2 seconds. Let me just finish typing this out. Oops. Can't wait to see you. Alright. So, let's dive right into it rather than hanging around. Enough sitting around jerking ourselves off. I've got my cup of tea here. Really wish it was coffee, but oh well. The coffee pot's empty. Oh, on that note, hey, if you enjoy the stream, then it would mean a whole lot if you would chuck me a follow and jump over to YouTube, subscribe to be there. I do prepared content over on my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord through the link down below, and hey, help me out to buy some more coffee by contributing to our pizza fund. I'm a poor student, but I do love pizza. And right now, I've been out of work for 4 weeks, 5 weeks? Gig worker, so not getting any work due to lockdown. Haha, hoo-hoo. Kitty's looking a little empty, so hey, help a guy out. Contribute to the pizza fund. Alright, let's get to some content. Oh, shut up! Alright, what's first? What do I want to come look at first? Let's go this one. A little bit Australian-centric, which is, you know, like, funny. But hey, he's internationally acclaimed and notorious. Australian YouTuber Issac Butterfield. 2 words you can't say about Australian athletes. Interesting. Well, I assume you're going to say the 2 words in the video. I just hope that they're not the T slur and the H slur, because I don't have to delete the VOD, but anyway. Alright, Issac, let us know, what are these 2 words that you cannot say?
G'day, you good motherfuckers, the Buttsman here, and I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, have a look at this.
So comedy is...
Oh no. Come on, that's not fair. You can't pull that. What does Robin DiAngelo have to have anything to do with trans athletes? Fucking hell. Oh my god. We'll never go... Like, Robin DiAngelo will be dead and her legacy will last 1,000 years. We're going to be suffering for her fucking shit for 10 generations.
I think it's an excuse to get to be racist, right? Like irony. And I think TV shows like Family Guy and South Park and maybe a little bit The Simpsons, right, allowed white people to be racist self-consciously, right? Like, I know I'm being racist, and therefore it doesn't count and it's okay.
That's best-selling author Robin DiAngelo, who wrote the book White Fragility, which is a book all about how bad you white people are. It's a great read. Really makes you feel good about yourself. And she's taking aim at her next target, filthy comedians. So from now on, to avoid being called racist, I will only discuss, joke, converse, comment on, review, debate, and examine, and other words that came up when I googled synonyms for discuss. Fuck me, I'm intelligent. I will now only talk about white people, alright? How exciting. What a beautiful world we live in.
I mean, you can make a lot of jokes about white people. Like, I'm constantly, like, just in my day-to-day life, just, like, thinking or even saying aloud, white people be like, come on, you can make a lot of comedy about white people.
So, my favourite white person to talk about of all time, and I'm going to assume they identify as a white person. I know that's pretty risky, but I will. My favourite white person to talk about of all time is this lady, Laurel Hubbard.
Okay, those are like the weirdest segue into talking about trans athletes, but okay. Thank you for at least respecting Laurel's identity.
I'm going to cover two words that you cannot say about this supreme athlete. Laurel Hubbard is a beastly chunk of weightlifting goddessness. She recently competed in her very first Olympics, and congratulations to her. But Laurel had the eyes of the world upon her. Why? Because Laurel was born a man. She lived most of her life as a man. She broke records in weightlifting as a man and competed in weightlifting as a man. And now she's a woman, which is wonderful. We've discussed her before on this channel, and I will call her a her, not because it's dictated by law that we have to do that, otherwise we are threatened with fines or jail time.
Which you're not anywhere, just putting it out there.
Call her a her because it's the polite thing to do. Some people would punish you if you didn't call her a her. You could lose your job. But
well, hang on. Discrimination in the workplace is very different to being prosecuted by the law. Very different, alright? You can say some obscene shit to people out on the street and get away with it because it's freedom of speech and the law can't prosecute you. But discrimination in the workforce is very different to freedom of speech. Being very slippery there, Isaac.
But we will do it because it is the right thing to do in this situation. The issue most people have with Laurel and competing at the Olympic Games is the fact that she spent almost 3 decades as a man. Being born male means you have a male body, which means you have thicker bones, which means you have a stronger bone structure, which means you have a wider base, which is really important when you're weightlifting. She spent multiple...
I like that he's focusing on the skeletal argument, because you can't make any case muscle-wise.
Decades creating this body under enormous amounts of testosterone. And it's all this muscle that has hung around through muscle memory that gives her a distinct advantage on top of all of the other advantages she has after spending so much time as a man. It gives us such an advantage over the natural born women.
I'm afraid that the science doesn't back that up.
In her division. And this is why people have the shits with her and the International Olympic Committee and the whole situation in general, including transgender athletes in female sports. Women do not have the same advantages to physical activity as men. For one tiny little example, okay, men are taller on average. We all know that, but how's this? Female growth plates close earlier than men's, which allow men to grow more than women. That's a fucking physiological advantage that you cannot deny. There is just a huge difference between the two genders. Yeah, that's right. I said 2 fucking genders. Come at me, bitches. I know it sounds horrible, but having someone who is a former man is unfair. It's just unfair. It's borderline, and I know this is crazy, it's borderline cheating. Now, many people argue that the testosterone range that Laurel Hubbard has to have falls in line with the Olympic Committee's levels, right, of 288 nanoliters per deciliter. I think that's right. I'm not a...
And you realize that if AFAB, assigned female at birth people, exceed that testosterone level, just not trans, cis women exceed that level, they can't compete either.
Fucking scientist. Is that what I wrote? Yeah. Nanograms per deciliter. That is 4 times the upper limit that a natural-born woman could produce. Most women only produce around 70 nanograms per deciliter at the higher limits. Now, if you're a natural-born woman, you go to the Olympics, you win the gold medal, you give a urine sample afterwards, and they find that you have 4 times your normal testosterone limits, you'd probably get done for steroid use because you have an advantage over the other women. An unfair advantage, some would say an unnatural one. So everyone's talking about Laurel Hubbard. She goes to the Olympics, she gets into the final, she's competing for the gold medal, and last night she fucking flops out. Nothing happens. She misses her lifts. Fucking boring. What?
All that fucking fear-mongering, all for nothing. How are you going to spin it this time?
The fuck, you rascal! You ruined this video! And some would say because she didn't win, she doesn't have an advantage. But she had an advantage in making the Olympic side.
Oh, what?
If she didn't have that advantage, perhaps she wouldn't have made it, and a natural-born woman may have.
Cope and seethe.
But what I found fascinating, and why I made this video, is this article talking about what reporters at this event and events in the Olympics, the guidelines that they have been given when talking about transgender athletes. 2 words you're not allowed to say about transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard. The Kiwi weightlifter made history on Monday night, becoming the first transgender athlete to compete at the Olympics. The decision to allow her to compete amongst women because she has testosterone below the threshold required by the Olympic Committee. We've already talked about that. Some, like sports writer Ewan McKenna, believe the 43-year-old Hubbard's appearance, having transitioned to female in her 30s, is a massive slap in the face of all women and fair sport. Former Olympian Caitlyn Jenner believes it's not fair. So too does tennis legend Maritina Navratilova. I think that's the incorrect pronunciation, but I also think it's a fair statement. Before the competition on Monday night got underway, journalists at the venue were given a 20-page guide on how to report appropriately on transgender athletes. 20 fucking pages?
Actually, Fungus, welcome to the show. Oh god. Thank you so much for joining us. We're doing a bit of a react stream today. We haven't got that far in. Right now, we're watching Isaac Butterfield embarrass himself about trans athletes. He's already shown that Laurel Hubbard didn't end up winning anything in the Olympics, so it's a little awkward. So we're finding out about the 2 words you can't say about trans athletes. So yeah. And we have a whole lot more planned.
Jesus Christ. Just give him 1 page. Just say, don't be fucking rude. That's all you need to do. Just call the sport. You can have your opinion, but just call the sport. Among the guidelines was an instruction not to use this 2-word phrase, born male, to describe Hubbard. Because, and wait for it, this is just beautiful, no one is born with a gender identity. Everyone is born a baby, and their gender is assigned to them by doctors and family members based on physical sex characteristics that may not correspond to their gender identity as it develops over time.
Damn, that's, yeah. Can't really argue with that. It seems pretty reasonable to me. Wasn't there an NB person who just won the gold? I think so. Was that in soccer? Because I remember seeing something on Twitter about an NB person in a soccer team. Was that them? Still awesome.
I don't care. I do not care what your gender identity is. You're at the fucking Olympics. You're either male or you're female. Otherwise, you could just have fucking Mike Tyson say, you know what? I'm keen to come back to boxing. Maybe I'll try MMA. I might go and talk to the UFC and see if I can fight Paige Van Zandt. Insane.
I mean, like, have you seen Mike Tyson these days? Paige probably kick his ass.
Now, I understand that a lot of people don't fit into those categories of male and female, so why don't you have like an open division where men and women and transgender people can compete? Unfortunately, it would be dominated by men, just saying, because they have a physical advantage. Except for Laura. She doesn't. They were also given instructions not to report trans athletes as having an unfair advantage over their rivals. According to the booklet, that's misinformation.
Very
Fuck
true.
You to the moon, Olympic Committee. You can shove
Stay mad. Oh, how mad is... Oh, imagine being this mad.
those gold medals all the way up your fucking ancient Greek asses. I understand that we are trying to make it easier for transgender athletes, and it's nice. It's a nice ideology. But don't make it easier for some people by making it harder for others. I think that's what we're sort of looking at here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comment section below. But before I go, the merch dropped last...
Okay. Well, in my own time, I might comment. I don't know if I... The fact that this is even a discussion just shows how insane the world has become. Ugh, lame. Oh, that's right. This is really weird. He opened the video by talking about Robin DiAngelo, which is the weirdest segue into trans athletes, but whatever. Let's see. It would be nice if you would look at some of the scientific data that suggests trans athletes do not have an advantage over cis once they have undergone HRT. There we are. Wonderful. I was tempted to like my own comment, but no. Alright. Well, there we go. Okay, once again, Isaac Butterfield embarrasses himself about trans people by suggesting that trans athletes have an advantage over cis, which, hey, I know that everybody intuitively thinks that's true, but I'm afraid that the scientific data does not tend to back that up. In fact, quite the opposite. It really shows that the playing field plateaus. Sorry. And Isaac wonders why people call him transphobic. I wonder. Let's have a look at something else. Oh, this is a good one, alright. This is a, I believe, a brand new video from our friends at PragerU. Why even atheists should teach their children about God. Now, hey, I'm an atheist. I don't plan to teach my children about God. Well, I mean, I don't plan to have children whatsoever. But if I did, their religious education, if they asked me if there was a God, you know, I'd tell them, you know, that they're free to believe whatever they want to. My parents, like my mum would tell me, like, oh, you know, it would be nice for there to be, and my dad, who's way more committed atheist, wouldn't, like, try to impress his views on my sister and I, but instead would be, like, the way that he would kind of, like, influence us to that direction would kind of be like, you know, like, oh, you know, we have lots of gods, you can choose whichever one you want. So, you know, kind of showing, like, why is there so many gods? You know, it's kind of a little sus when they all say that it's the one true God. So, yeah. So, tell us, as an atheist, why should our children learn about God?
As a therapist, I'm often asked...
As a therapist... It's a little loud.
...why depression and anxiety are so common among children and adolescents. One explanation, almost surely the most neglected, is declining interest in God and religion. I see the consequences of this in my practice almost every day. And this is not merely my personal observation. A 2018 Harvard study involving 5,000 people examined how being raised in a family with religious beliefs affects the mental health of children. The study found that kids who attended a religious service at least once per week scored higher on psychological well-being measurements and had lower risks of mental illness. Weekly attendance was also associated with higher rates of volunteerism, lower probabilities of both drug use and early sexual initiation, and a sense of purpose. Yet despite all the evidence that religious involvement leads to positive behaviors, Gallup reports that the U.S. has seen a 20% decrease in attendance at formal religious services in the past 20 years.
Good.
In 2018, the American Family Survey revealed that nearly half of adults under 30 do not identify with any religion. From a purely psychological point of view, this is not a good trend. Nihilism, the belief in nothing, is a rich fertilizer for anxiety and depression. In contrast, the belief...
I mean, what? No, nihilism isn't the belief in nothing. That's, like, you can't juxtapose nihilism with religion. What? That doesn't make any sense.
Belief in God, a guardian figure who loves us, is an invaluable source of support and comfort. I am often asked by parents, how do I talk to my child about death if I don't believe in God or heaven? My answer is always the same. Fake it. There are many things you don't tell your children the full truth about. For instance, if your children hear about a tragedy that has occurred in your community, you tell them that it will never happen to them. We don't have a crystal ball and cannot know that bad things will not happen to our children. Yet we reassure them with a hopeful narrative. The same applies to believing in God and heaven. Even if you believe that when your life ends, your bones turn to dust and you are gone for eternity, such beliefs don't help children. They only scare them and create anxiety over death and dying. Belief in a benevolent God and a heaven does help children with their fear.
See, like, when I was a kid, I actually did a lot more than I did as an adult. I occasionally get, like, bouts of existential fear about death. Which, I don't know, it's kind of weird for, I guess it's kind of weird for a kid to have, especially because I know that, like, this would happen, like, before, like, I even had a death in the family or anything. Like, before that kind of experience happened to me. Now, I don't know about telling kids, like, oh, don't worry, because if you die... Like, how would that make the fear of death any less? Because you still have to die for it to experience that. Like, in my, like, agnostic upbringing, like, that didn't provide me any comfort from the fear of death. You know what has provided me comfort from the fear of death? Being an atheist. That's given me a tremendous sense of relief. Just the idea that, like, I don't have to worry. Like, I really don't have any fear of death. Doesn't mean I'm ready to die. I'm certainly not ready to die. But, like, the idea of fear? Why would you tell a kid they can't die? I mean, true, like, that is another thing. Like, that's also a weird... I thought about it when she said, like, just saying, like, oh, this will never happen to you. I mean... It could. I mean, we're already talking about, like, not only are they lying to kids about religion, but she's also advocating that you lie to kids about religion, even if you don't believe it. So we are really hardly surprised that they're going to lie to their kids and say, like, oh, that'll never happen to you. Are we really that surprised? Existentialism helped me. Interesting. Like, for me, like, I just had a lot of clarity about myself accepting, like being an atheist and accepting that there's nothing after death or anything. Like, I feel like I would be a lot more worried. Because, you know, there's so much about religion is worrying if you get into heaven. I know that a lot of religions, like, fake. Like, oh no, we're definitely going to heaven. You know, like Calvinists and whatnot. But there's still that, like, fear in the back of their mind of, like, oh, what if I'm not one of the elect?
In our current age of broken families...
Also, like, the idea that God is benevolent, fuck off.
Distracted parents, school violence... and nightmarish global warming predictions.
I mean, I'll give them that, alright? Like, it fucking shits me up the wall when you see a parent on the train or whatever, and their kid is clearly bored out of their fucking brain because kids aren't adults. They haven't they haven't learned to accept the drudgery of adult life and just sit there waiting to get where you're going. And the parent's just sitting there on their phone, and the kid's just losing their mind because they're that bored. Okay, that shits me, alright?
Imagination plays a big part in children's ability to cope. It is far better for kids to use their imagination constructing something positive, such as a God who cares about us, than the dark nihilistic idea that there's no creator and protector and no purpose to our existence.
What is self-own? Hey, it's easy for kids to believe in religion because they're young and stupid and they have wild imaginations. What is self-own? Oh boy.
I am also frequently asked how parents can instill gratitude and empathy in their children. Again, the best answer is involvement in an organized religion.
No, I will disagree. Absolutely not. Like, I was waiting for this to come up at one point, but I might as well bring it up now. So, no one ever got kicked out of an atheist family because their gender identity was against God, or their sexual orientation was against God. That never happened, you know, or they dated the wrong race, you know, or dated the wrong person. That never happened, you know, because it was against God in an atheist or a secular family, at least. You know, that doesn't happen, but it does happen in religious families. So really, what households are more welcoming? And you want to talk about why religious people are happier? Well, we can examine this sociologically. A lot of religious people, again, I'm an armchair philosopher, or being an armchair psychologist, a lot of religious people have something missing in their lives. They have something that's missing, and religion fills that hole. Really, what people appreciate from organized religion is not the religion itself, it's the community, it's the sense of belonging, the sense that these are people that accept me, which is really what people, you know, who are religious is seeking. It's that community. We're social creatures, and we're gratified by socializing. So in terms of like why people who are part of religion might be happier, I mean, we live in a very alienated world, so if you have a sense of community with like an organization that you regularly see and attend events and whatnot, yeah, in an alienated world, that's going to be really gratifying. But you don't need religion for that. Like, you could get that from like, you know, like your regular like D&D group, anything like poker night. Doesn't matter. Playing in a band. Even before I was fully atheist, I was like, fuck God, I'm a fight him. Am I right?
All traditional faiths encourage gratitude and empathy as antidotes to entitlement and selfishness.
Oh, exactly. That's one real bad aspect of religion I hate. Like the idea that, like, gratification, that's so linked to, like, fascist ideology as well. Not to paint all religious people as fascists, even though, I mean, religion's all about hierarchy. The concept of gratitude and just, like, being grateful for your lot in life. If you, like, PragerU promotes this all the time. If you're grateful for what you have, then you won't need to seek something better. You won't work to try and improve something, to try and improve the world. You should be happy with your lot in life.
These are the building blocks of strong character. They also protect against depression and anxiety. Additionally, religion provides children a chance for community. Being with people who share their faith can act as a buffer against the emptiness and isolation of modern culture.
They're right, but not for the right reason. I beat them to it. Told you. That's what it's all about.
This is more necessary than ever in a world where teens can have hundreds of virtual friends and few real ones.
And these are the kind of people that will rail against Marxist ideologies like worker alienation. But they'll go and admit that we live in an alienated world and that having this sense of community is important.
And religion helps teach children mindfulness, a sense of
No, it
self-control
doesn't.
and discipline.
Fuck off, it does.
Your young children might not be aware they are entering a house of worship, but they do know they're supposed to act in an appropriate manner when they are there. They have to relax their bodies and calm their minds.
Great. But virtual friends can be real ones. Absolutely. I mean, PragerU would probably disagree. But yeah, I've got virtual friends. Minor tangent while I tell a story about a virtual friend, alright? So I met this girl online years ago, like 6 years ago or something, back in like 20... when was it? Must have been like 2014. So it's like 7 years ago now. Wow. It must have been 2014. And anyway, we never met online. Because... oh, sorry, we never met in person because I was in Australia and she was from Singapore. But, you know, we talked and we were friends. And then about 3 or so years ago, maybe more, 4 years ago, we kind of fell out of contact. And then, at the end of 2019, start of 2020, when I was in America, when I was in New York, I was in a hotel and I downloaded a bunch of dating apps because I was like, you know, let's meet some American girls. And I was looking around, and you won't believe who I saw on the app. It was her, and then we met up and hung out while I was in New York. So, virtual friends are great, alright? And it was great to meet her for the first time. And we were friends, you know, before we met up. Yeah, we're still in contact now. Virtual friends are poggers.
It is true that if you feel ambivalent about God and religion, your children will likely follow your example.
Not true. Mine were. I mean, like, in fact, mine were, and I've taken it further. Like, I'm way more hardline than my mum. Like, I've already explained, like, my dad is an atheist, but he presented it in, you know, a very agnostic sense. Because he didn't want to push that belief on us, but he kind of wanted to do it in a way that where we could, you know, come to the conclusion ourselves.
However, if you practice religion or send your children to religious school, knowing it is good for them, you might surprise yourself and get something meaningful out of it too. In other words, your children may bring you back to faith. It's certainly worth an extended experiment for their sake and for yours. Consider one more argument. If you take the idea seriously that your children should be free to choose or reject God and religion, they need to be exposed to God and religion. How else will they be able to make a free and informed choice? We live in a competitive, stressful society that idealizes materialism, selfishness, and virtual rather than real human connection. Having a religious community and a belief in God is the best antidote to all of that.
Not really. And regarding, like, exposing yourself to a religious community, yeah, I've done that, and I stopped after someone said something really homophobic and no one stood up against it except me. So, yeah. Don't worry. I tried.
Whether children choose to continue to practice as adults is something you cannot control, but at least give them a chance to believe in God and find comfort in religion. They deserve it. I'm Erica Coleman.
Hang on, wait, you didn't tell us about why even atheists should teach children about God. You just said, like, these are all the advantages to raising your children in a religious sense. But, like, why should an atheist do it? Like, these are just for, like, arguments for religious parents.
Commissar, psychoanalyst and author of Chicken...
Okay, well, I'm not convinced. Wow, what a surprise. A PragerU video that didn't convince me? Perish the thought. Okay, well, fuck that. No, religion's dumb. God is dumb. And if your children can't come to that conclusion on their own, well, then I have some bad news. I want to talk about something else that before we move on to the video, I want to talk about something that I've talked about on the stream previously. So the other day, I talked about the debate that Lance had with Lauren Southern on Dylan Burns' channel. And about how I feel that Lance, like, not only did he do really bad in the debate, but optically, he looked fucking terrible. Like, the little tirade he went on at the end, calling Lauren out on all of her Nazi shit, that looked awful. That looked fucking terrible. But all these fucking lefties are just soy clapping and losing their shit over, like, oh yeah, call out the Nazi. It was not the time and place, alright? They had no reference to their debate whatsoever. It looked awful. And since then, Lance has just been just adding fuel to the fire. So, and you know, and this is the thing, Lauren Southern is winning from this. Like, she's the one who's getting the most out of this because she has no presence online, she has no backing, she has no following. But now, like, loads of people in the lefty community are talking about her, and apparently she's even going to go on Destiny's channel. This is just, like, she's the only one benefiting from this. So, here, a whole other video. What has she got to say?
My audience may wonder why I am wasting so much time on this. And fair question, guys.
Because you're getting views, you're getting clicks.
I have tormented you enough with this subject. But, you know, aside from it all being darkly comical, this is a perfect example of how easily human interaction becomes warped by barricading yourself behind your keyboard. Cowards like Lance wilt in the face of humanity and reality. They cower behind their screens because only there can they wrap themselves in the safe cocoon of their narrative. To touch grass, let alone to face their own lives, would break that worldview they concocted. Because even if you transfigure a person into a monster on the internet, your spell breaks the instant they log off. They go back to being human, and you, well, you are left with only the soul that you have poisoned by lying about them. That is no way to live. That is no way to be human. My audience may wonder why I am wasting so much time on this. And fair question, guys. I have tormented you enough with this subject. But, you know, aside...
What have you got to say, Lance?
He knew I wouldn't be able to answer anything about it. That little bitch boy. Well, I happen to have evidence to the contrary, and I will now show you why he was lying to you, and I will show you all the reasons why he's a huge bitch boy, who's not only a boy, but a bitch. And you're going to learn about both of those things right now. But first, this is... He knew I wouldn't be able to answer anything about it. That...
Huh? What? Anyway, here's... Shark had the best take. You can dunk on the serfs, but why are people giving them positive attention? Why are giving people... What? You can dunk on the serfs, but why are people giving positive attention to Lauren Southern? I don't know if your railing against anti-bigotry ends when you want to rail them, but some people need to stop, delete their tweets, and reevaluate themselves. Gross. Lauren Southern is scum. Tried to drown refugees, peddled insane conspiracies, and inspired the Christchurch shooter. Her tune change is for cash, clout, and only retreated from the alt-right because they're mean to women. She's trying to play you. 100%. Let me tell you right now, stop talking about Lauren Southern. She's the only one benefiting from all this attention. Like, I get why people on the left would want to debate her, would want to talk about her, because she's a big name. Or at least used to be. She has no real presence online these days. The only presence she has is that we give them. You know, she was platformed by Dylan Burns. She's going to be on Destiny's channel. It's so frustrating that, like, if you're going to platform someone like this, like, do it to attack their shit. Do it to attack their ideology, or at least, like, what they used to have. As a reminder, Lauren Southern has still not walked away from her shitty Nazi beliefs, or at least she has not publicly stated she has. Which leads me to believe that she hasn't, because, like, that's some pretty horrendous shit. If you're trying to work your way back into the community, I mean, like, you're gonna have to address it at some point. So fuck me, just leave off. Lance, take the L and move on. Let's have a break. Let's, not a break, but like, here we go. Here's our palate cleanser for the stream, okay? So, it's still not any, like, it's not a great topic, but at least it's with a good presenter. This is Friendly Geordies, a progressive Australian streamer, alright? Let's hear what he's got to say about the death of free speech in Australia. I'm sure he's got a lot to say, because, reminder, Friendly Geordies is currently being sued by the Deputy Premier of New South Wales for stating true facts about his corruption. So yeah.
You know, there's a tidbit that I think kind of got overshadowed by the whole secret police nearly killing an elderly family pet thing, and that's the part where Bruz claimed he wanted to sue Google. Clearly a much more innocent bystander in all this than Christo's mum, clearly. They're claiming that Google is a publisher and therefore is responsible for my content. At first I thought, this fat obsessed with furniture. What, because Freedom Furniture doesn't stock office beanbags, you need to sue Google, do you? Their couches aren't slendy enough for the hefty gentlemen's. You remember the news media bargaining code fiasco? If you don't, Michael West has done an excellent article on it, as has Economics Explained. I did the best one in my humble opinion. You know why? Because I was in it.
I mean, mine was the best, but anyway.
Isn't that incredible how the human brain works?
This one that has me really speaks to me.
To give you a very crude overview of the media bargaining code, it was essentially Murdoch and Costello whining that for some reason, less and less of the public want to pay them for their boring propaganda, colourlessly written by some pee-pee-loving douche with this facial expression. The pee-pees made my pee-pee hard. Clearly, their revenue plummeting from a medium that is 1,000 years old competing in the era of TikTok, obviously Google's fault, and so they want Google to pay for daring to allow them to use Google's search engine. Honestly, they may as well have turned to Sydney Water and said, "You have to pay me for flicking up one of your bubblers." That was...
God damn it. Geordie, why? We'll be right back. I don't know how rich the algorithm thinks I am. Because I'm always getting ads for housing investing, the stock market, super. I've got like no fucking money whatsoever. Reminder. I don't know why the fuck they think I'm so rich.
One of your bubblers. That was my labour that allowed me to have some of your free water.
Naturally, the party of free market principles had to step in with classic central command economics by forcing Google to pay for papers that are clearly failing due to free market principles as what's more of a proud liberal tradition than wealth redistribution. And at the time,
Jesus Christ. Chrome, calm the fuck down. All I did was skip an ad. You're losing your shit.
thought, well, this is just your run-of-the-mill example of Murdoch's power. The man could make one tweet and get f***ing Fiji nuked if he liked. Today is a slow news day.
Cheerio, chaps. Let's give him something to talk about. What?
I thought, because of the amount of money Google and Facebook have to pay is looking like some token amount of $100 to $200 million, that this was all just the Liberals saving Murdoch's face. But who'd have guessed?
Wonderful. I love working in these conditions. Lovely. Lovely. Now what's not working? The computer itself? Great. Fun, fun, fun. Could have bought a whole brand new spanking shiny computer if I hadn't been made redundant from my job last year. Thanks, Serco. Okay, now it's just not responding whatsoever. Okay, well, we'll just have to kill time until it does. Is the stream still running? Uh-oh. Well, the audio is, but the picture's not. Am I still streaming? Okay, no it is. Just there's like one frame every